Alright, now that I've measured the height of the door, I'm going to show you how to measure the angle of the receding bottom edge, the one where the floor plane meets the wall plane. This edge recedes toward the vanishing point. There are two ways to find this angle: sighting or measuring. When you sight an angle, start with your measuring stick held vertically and straight. Then slowly rotate your wrist and thumb, letting the measuring stick act like the hand of a clock, pivoting until it aligns with the edge in space that you're observing. It's really important that you don't project or guess the angle. Just let it rotate flat until it naturally aligns. Once you've aligned it with the observed edge, you can transfer that angle to your drawing by holding the stick in place and moving it over to the page. Now, while sighted angles can work, they tend to be less precise. It's also harder to check their accuracy because, especially when there's not much to the drawing yet, without several drawn shapes to evaluate against and landmark off of, there aren't clear steps to verify them. That's why I recommend starting with a measured angle. Once you've got that accurate foundation, you can use sighting for subsequent lines. So, how do you measure an angle? You're going to measure the vertical difference between the bottom right corner, which is already on my drawing, and the bottom left corner of the door, which I will add to my drawing next. Specifically, we want to know, how much higher does the back bottom left corner of the door appear compared to the front bottom right corner? Start by returning to your original door measurement setup to make sure you're measuring from the same position. Align the top and bottom of the door with your measuring stick just like before. If your position has shifted, your scale will be off, and small errors can quickly snowball into larger inaccuracies. Once you've confirmed your position, slide your measuring stick down while keeping your hand locked in place. Align the top of your stick with the bottom left corner of the door, the far edge in space. At the same time, use your thumb and forefinger to mark the bottom right corner of the door, the closer edge. I usually stretch out my forefinger perpendicular to the stick so I can see both points clearly. Then slide back and forth a bit, checking alignment. You want the top of the stick to hit the far bottom left corner and your fingers to hit the near bottom right corner. I'm working against a pane of glass here, so it's a little tricky, but you'll have an easier time doing this directly in space. Once you have that vertical difference measured, mark it on your measuring stick. Then, on your drawing, transfer that measurement as a horizontal line that intersects the vertical height line from earlier. This gives you a horizontal reference to determine how far the far edge is above the near one. Next, you'll need one final measurement, the horizontal width of the door. To do this, return to your same measuring position. Rotate your stick horizontally. Align one end with the far left edge of the door and mark the far right edge with your thumb. Now mark that width on your drawing, extending it from the base of the vertical door edge. With all those points established, you can now connect the intersections to form the diagonal receding edge of the door, the one moving toward the vanishing point. If you like, you can now sight that angle again by holding your measuring stick up to the diagonal you just drew and checking it against the real edge in space. My measurement looks pretty sound, which is exactly what we want.